Welcome to the Fierce and Fit Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Clarice Yao, a holistic health coach dedicated to helping women over 40 achieve their fittest, fiercest selves. Each week, we'll dive deep into the unique challenges of menopause, including belly fat, weight gain, muscle building, hormonal imbalances, and more. These episodes are recorded live from my free Facebook group, Fierce Women Sculpting Powerful Bodies and Champion Mindsets. Be sure to check the link in the show notes to join our incredible community and access free content, challenges, and resources designed just for you. Coming to you from Athens, Greece, which is beautiful. I'm excited to do this live. This is kind of a unique live. I would say definitely there are some really valuable information in this. And I was thinking about why I wanted to do what's called the 6 wellness pillars, because I was thinking, as you age, really, what are the things that you really want to focus on to determine optimal health? And even for myself or for any of you, it's like, what pillars do you want to think of in your life to ensure okay, if you focused and took care of these things, you're going to ensure you're on a good track. And so this is one of the reasons why I was like, okay, how do I put this in a way and a framework that makes sense for all of you? It is something that's kind of unique. I haven't really talked about it from this perspective or the 6 pillars. So this is kind of new. So if you're new here, this is the Fierce Woman community where we sculpt powerful bodies and champion mindsets. And just a quick congratulations is to all our 14-day bloat buster participants. Congratulations to all of you who participated in that. We had amazing wins. I know a couple people I lost 3-4 inches from their midsection. I don't have all their names, but Modacha, you had 5 inches off your waist. Yvette Williams, you lost 5 pounds and 1.5 inches off your waist. Ruby Murphy, you lost 5 pounds, which is pretty impressive. 1.5 inch off your waist and then 1/2 inch off your chest, your hips, and your thighs. So give these ladies lots of hearts. Hit the love button. These were wins within that 14-day bloat challenge. Carrie, you dropped 3 pounds. Jackie, you dropped 4 pounds. Jackie Bertrand, you lost 4 pounds and 7 inches. So really awesome to see those great changes in all of you. And if you missed our free 14-day bloat buster challenge, then make sure you drop next challenge below. Okay. Also, I want you to give a shout out to all the new BioRevive ladies who decided to go from the 14-day to our 6-week BioRevive program, which makes them go into basically an 8-week program in some sense, because 14 plus 6. So Ruby Murphy, Julie's Ann, Danette Jameson, Cynthia Cintron, Darlene Gillette, Melissa Legon, sorry if I say your name wrong. These 6 ladies are starting the BioRevive system. Also want to give a shout out to our FFF ladies, which is our small group coaching program. BioRevives are big group coaching, bigger group, and FFF is small group, 3 ladies, or in this case it was 3, but it's 2 now. It's going to be Francine Martinez and Marcel Washington is on here. So these ladies have also started with Oshone and started their workouts and starting to learn a lot about inflammatory markers. Is that correct, Marcel? I know you're on here and I know you're going to learn so much. I know Phyllis is on here. She did the FFF program and I know she loved it and learned so much, right? So give these ladies lots of hearts who are starting these programs, basically 2 programs starting pretty much near the same time. So really excited for these ladies. Okay, so hit the love button, cheer them on as they have lots to learn in the journey ahead. So super excited for all of you. So let's dive into it. Okay, so the 6 pillars we're going to talk about. I'm going to obviously go through each pillar one at a time. In each pillar, we're going to break down different aspects of it. Some is a little bit more general and some are going to get super, super specific. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is hormonal harmony. So the first pillar as a menopausal woman or as a woman over 40 is you have to pay attention to your hormones. Of course, I talk about this all the time, but we're going to dive deeper in this because we're going to talk about pillars. So the first thing is you have to understand what happens in your body in menopause or perimenopause stages, okay? Because if you don't really know and understand this, you're going to be like the blind leading the blind, or you're just going to be like, I don't know, like menopause just sucks, because we hear this a lot. But if you understand and you learn what's going on, it makes everything a lot simpler. Okay, let's dive into hormones. We're going to do a really brief Cole's notes on the different hormones you need to first understand. And then I'm going to get you to think about signs and symptoms of what you're experiencing and what that could indicate with your hormones. Okay, so the first pillar is to create hormonal harmony, hormonal awareness. Okay, how many of you believe you understand your hormones well? If you believe you understand your hormones well, put hormones well. Or if you believe you actually don't understand enough about hormones, then put like want to learn more or something like that. Like, how many of you feel like really educated on hormones? Put it below. Put it below if you feel like you're well versed in hormones, or if you're not. The first hormone that we're going to talk about is estrogen. And it's just brief little Cole's notes, because hormones can get very complicated. So estrogen is the queen bee of female hormones. You know this. So what estrogen does, right, is it supports your mood, your skin, your bones, your brain health, and your metabolism. Okay. So the thing is, as your estrogen declines, you may notice hot flashes, mood swings, weight changes, or vaginal dryness, and more, because estrogen is responsible for a lot of things. But these are some common things that you will notice because of the estrogen drop. Okay. And it's really connected with, again, your brain health, your metabolism, all of that. So estrogen at the top is what's decreasing, right? And this will affect the host of a lot of other hormones. So the second hormone is progesterone. Progesterone is considered your calming hormone. Okay. This hormone, it supports your sleep, your mood, and your cycle regularity. So when you drop in menopause or perimenopause, typically the drop in progesterone will lead to anxiety, poor sleep, and heavier or irregular periods. So a lot of times people will tell me, like, as they're in perimenopause or menopause or going into that phase, they'll say like it's kind of irregular or it gets really heavy. That would be a sign you're in, perimenopause, or something's about to happen. Okay, because progesterone is dropping. So estrogen drops, progesterone drops, and then testosterone. You've heard me speak a lot about this. So testosterone, again, is not just for men, women need it too. Testosterone in us, in women, well, men too, but it fuels your drive, your strength, your energy, and your libido. Okay. So testosterone is actually really, really important, because it's huge for like that, like motivation and that strength, and like, obviously your sex drive. This is important. And as it lowers in menopause, the lower levels can lead to fatigue, low motivation, and reduce muscle tone and reduce sex drive. So this is why too, as you go through perimenopause and menopause, a lot of this, you experience these kinds of symptoms, right? So you have estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and then you also start to drop in thyroid. So thyroid hormone, that butterfly shape right here, T3 and T4, you can consider your metabolism master. So this metabolism master, it regulates your energy, your weight, your mood, and your temperature. Okay. As you go into 40, you might feel more tired. You might gain weight. You might feel foggy or experience hair thinning, all connected to lowered thyroid functioning. As I speak about this, obviously I'm going through some hormone things. I want you to put below what you're experiencing. What do you experience? Do you experience lower energy, weight gain? You feel cold all the time. Temperature regulation is thyroid related. Maybe you have low sex drive, which is lower testosterone. It could be sleep is not great, which is indication of lowered progesterone. So this is why I'm bringing this up, is to help you guys start to think about hormones in your body and understand it. So put below what is symptoms that you are feeling right now that you're experiencing. Put it below in the comments section. And even feeling foggy is connected to thyroid. Okay. Another hormone that we want to talk about is insulin. Now, insulin is your blood sugar balancer. Okay. Your blood sugar balancer. Insulin helps you move glucose into your from your blood into your cells for energy. Okay. So your blood sugar balancer, right? Like I said, so as you age, I mentioned this a lot, you become more insulin resistant, meaning your body does not respond well to sugar. So it doesn't shuttle sugar well into your cells. So this leads to a couple things. Yes, this is why this is like about 90% of you. Menopause, above 40, typically you gain weight and belly fat. This has to do highly with this insulin resistance, because insulin resistance will shuttle that fat into your belly and create more likely of like energy crashes, potentially prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. I'll get more into this, but in order to control this, you really need to know your food. You need to know how to balance your meals so that you can really avoid this type of sugar spike that your body can't handle. Okay. So we'll get more into nutrition in a bit, but it's just more just hormones. Another hormone that you need to be aware of is cortisol. So cortisol, as you know, is the stress hormone. So this is produced by the adrenal gland and, it responds to stress, all this type of stuff. Now, chronically high cortisol will actually, like I mentioned this, it steals from your estrogen, testosterone, and your progesterone. It competes with these sex hormones. When cortisol is high and it steals from these hormones, particularly progesterone, you will get worse sleep and poor metabolism. So I want you to think about this. If you are a very stressed person, you're going to find yourself worsening faster because you're already lowered in progesterone, lowered in estrogen, and now high cortisol is going to steal from progesterone and worsen your sleep, worsen your metabolism, right? And so again, you're probably thinking, well, what can I do? So there's definitely things like how to manage stress, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and also proper supplementations like magnesium and how to help your body. And that's why everything comes down to how do you handle the situation in your body and your nutrition, your stress control, your lifestyle factors, right? So the last hormone is DHEA. So DHEA, you can consider your vitality and resilience hormone. Okay. So this one, like I said, is a precursor to estrogen and testosterone. So you need DHEA before it can be produced into estrogen and testosterone. DHEA supports mood, energy, libido, and immune function. As you age, DHEA will drop off, okay? And it will drop off faster, not just with age, but with chronic stress or adrenal fatigue, okay? So, but adrenal fatigue basically means stress or you overtire your adrenals, okay? So DHEA will drop off no matter what, but if you are stressed or you don't know how to handle that stress well, it will drop off even faster, okay? And with the DHEA, just again, I'm not getting to all the strategies because we're going to talk about later, but like to help it function better, like eating healthy fats is really important. That's why knowing your nutrition, because DHEA is highly supported by fats. So when you think about all your hormones shifting, the counteract to it is actually good nutrition and knowing what to do, right? So this is just an overview of the hormones. And then I'm going to get into a little bit of like other signs that you will think or that you need to ask yourself that will give you signs of what type of hormonal imbalance you have. Of course, if you want the most accurate, is to encourage you, all you ladies watching, to go get a hormone test. Okay. The Dutch hormone panel is probably the one you want to get, which is the most accurate kind of hormone testing to know where all your hormone levels are. It would be something I suggest for all of you. And it's something that I like to know as a coach, where your hormones sit. I know Shanika is with the Me in Transformation program, and I know that because she struggles with high cortisol. I know she went and got a test and she lets me know where cortisol levels are, where hormone levels are. So it's really important to kind of know where these levels are as a menopause woman. Okay. Now, so a couple things, if you cannot get a hormone testing done, like a traditional test, you can ask yourself some questions. So these are the questions I'm going to ask you, and I want you to answer it, and it will show you maybe what you struggle with. Okay. So do you easily wake up in the morning with energy and feel ready to go, or do you struggle to get up in the morning? Okay. So this is one question for you. If you answer, obviously you can answer below. If you get up when you don't have a lot of energy, you really struggle to get up, or you really need to get that caffeine in you, it may indicate you have low cortisol. Okay. So again, think about that. When you get up, how are you feeling? Right? You can answer that below and share with us. Okay. Another question to ask is, do you feel steady, calm energy throughout the day, or do you struggle with energy crashes, anxiety, or feel like wired? So if you feel like anxious, wired, exhausted, sugar crashes, I know a couple people, even one of my clients was telling me about that. I think she was experiencing a little bit cravings. We're talking about her macro balance right now, actually. But if you experience that, this up and down or anxiousness or kind of being exhausted, you may be struggling with cortisol spikes. Okay. Cortisol spikes means your cortisol is not being controlled properly, and it may be going up and down. That is probably impacted not only hormonally from cortisol, but probably from glucose, to be honest, because of your insulin. So if you don't find your energy is super steady, that's a sign for you. So this is for you to identify, what hormone things are you struggling with, right? Next question is, do you feel calm and sleepy, ready for bed around like nighttime, 9-10, or you're not able to fall asleep? So if you are calm and you can go to sleep, you're good. Okay. If you're not calm, you're not able to fall asleep, you get a second wind, you can't sleep, it will indicate you have high cortisol at night. At high cortisol, and actually probably progesterone imbalance, because progesterone is about sleep. Okay, so put it below, do you have trouble sleeping, or do you have trouble falling asleep? Okay, so that can indicate that for you. Another question to ask yourself, now moving into another kind of hormone, is do you experience breast tenderness, period pain, or ovarian cysts at any time in the month? Some of you don't have your period anymore, but it's still important to ask. Do you experience breast tenderness, period pain, or ovarian cyst at any time in the month? Okay, so this may not apply to some of you, but if this applies to you, if you're listening, if you do experience this, it may indicate you have high estrogen or be estrogen dominant. Typically, estrogen or high estrogen will mean that you have more breast tenderness or more period pain, all of this. Okay, so this could be applying to maybe more perimenopause. It probably is harder for menopausal women who already don't have period to have this, but there's a lot of perimenopausal women who watch this, right? So it's important we still discuss this, right? So there's that. And if you experience really heavy periods, then you're likely to be estrogen dominant, okay? So that could be an indication of your estrogen. I already asked this, but if you have trouble falling asleep at night, then it may indicate that your progesterone is low. And if you are anxious a lot, so this is another question. If you feel anxious, do you feel anxious? Those of you who are watching, do you feel anxious a lot? So if you feel anxious, then it may be progesterone is low. Okay, so anxiousness can relate to that feeling. Okay, so put that below. If you're struggling with low libido, okay, then I already said this, then you likely are struggling with low testosterone. Okay. And if you struggle with breakouts, now this can happen to anyone, even in your menopausal, like if you break out in your skin or your skin just not clear, there's a lot of things. If you struggle with acne or some sort of skin condition, it can indicate a number of things. It could also indicate poor gut. Actually, a lot of gut issues relates to poor skin. However, acne specifically indicates testosterone is too high or is highly imbalanced, okay? And then another one is, with insulin hormone, is if your fasting glucose A1Cs are high, this is obviously through a test, but if your A1Cs are high, is most likely you're insulin resistant, okay? If your blood sugar levels are high. And then this one's a big one, because I coach a lot of some of you tell me this. Do you experience sugar cravings? Okay, this one I want you guys to answer, because I hear this quite a lot. Do you experience sugar cravings? If you experience sugar craving, then it indicates your blood sugar level is unstable, okay? If your blood sugar level is unstable, what does that actually mean? It means you are likely struggling with insulin resistance, or insulin, the hormone, is not operating well, okay? So I hear this a lot. This one's a common one, sugar cravings. So very indicative of probably not balanced eating, but also blood sugar is not functioning well. Okay, these are big signs. Again, we're talking about like understanding your hormone as one of the pillars you need to know as a woman above 40. Okay, and then do you experience energy crashes throughout the day? I did ask this actually already, but yes, throughout the day. Also, the energy crashes could be progesterone, but also connected to insulin as well, the blood sugar. So if you have energy crashes, that could be a problem. Okay, now I know what you guys are all thinking. Well, understanding your hormones is one thing. Understanding what to do is another thing. One of the things I will put here that if you want to watch, if you didn't a long time ago, I did a hormone live, a hormone replacement therapy live. Now, I'm not saying that everything is HRT. I prefer more natural approaches, but it's also to understand it can be one solution because there's a lot of fluctuating hormones as you age. This is why I'm saying as one pillar, as a woman above 40, you have to be really understand your hormones, understand where you are, understand what you're high, what you're low, and seek for the solutions to create the balance of it. Whether it's through the natural ways that I will talk about, or, maybe hormone replacement therapy and more the natural side of things. There's like the bioidentical hormones. So if you want to watch that live I did on it, because not everyone is suitable to do hormone replacement therapy, especially if you start later. So you are like 50 or 60 above, you are not suitable to do HRT if you start much later in life because of a lot of complications, right? So if you want to watch that live, you can put hormone replacement live and we can tag you on that live, okay? So another way to deal with better hormone balance is to support liver and gut health and detox pathways, okay? So let me say that again, support liver and gut health, detox pathways. What do you think the 14-day bloat buster was doing? And what do you think the BioRevive system is doing? So this is actually why I developed these programs, is because one of the key aspects to hormone balance is you need to balance your gut, balance your liver, and create this like more healed system. Okay, so if you want to learn more about the BioRevive, if you're not in the BioRevive system, and those 6 ladies are, and you want to learn more about that, then put BioRevive program, which is more specific to the gut health, very specific in BioRevive is liver, there's liver health and whatnot. And the other programs deal with it too, and kind of the other ways like macros and food, and also like kind of the gut health. But just that BioRevive kind of like forces you to focus in on that, right? Like Zeta, do you remember you have to have the liver support, some of the supplements and different things like that, right? Detox your body. Okay, so if you want to learn more about BioRevive, this is a crucial part of hormonal balance. Okay. Also, for hormones, I would encourage all of you to track your cycles and symptoms and adapt your workouts to kind of match some of your hormone levels. Again, this is kind of getting a little bit more complex, but just adapt your workout to understanding where your hormones are, and then eating more macro balanced. Okay. So in order to be most hormonally balanced, you really have to understand what you need to emphasize in your eating. Like for example, I talked about a lot of healthy fats. I talked a lot about fiber being extremely important for menopausal women because of estrogen kind of attachments in your gut, right? There's like molecules basically in your gut that attaches to estrogen, right? And so if you want to understand better hormone balance, whether it's like macros or programs or workouts, I want you to put hormone balance below. Okay, so this is pillar number 1.
Okay, let's go to pillar number 2. So pillar number 2 is metabolism and weight health. Okay, with menopause, obviously, as you age, your metabolism is going to start to slow down. Insulin resistance creeps in, just like I said, and muscle mass declines, right? So your metabolism is going to slow down. It is what's going to cause you to gain weight. And this increases your health risk, okay? So pillar number 2 is to understand metabolism and weight. Okay, yes, it's connected to hormone, pillar 1, but it's kind of a separate pillar because I want you to focus in on that. Okay, so with this area, what you need to do as a menopausal woman is you need to really focus in on blood sugar stability, lean muscle preservation, gut health, and inflammation reduction. Okay, so think about these areas I'm talking about. Okay, as a menopausal woman, you need to know what you're doing. It's not just anything, any program, or I just do this, or I hear this. It's I need to do this because of these things are happening in my body. So again, blood sugar stability, lean muscle preservation. You need to have gut health and inflammation reduction, which is, again, kind of partly why the programs are designed the way they are, whether it's the FFF transformation program or BioRevive. It's all meant to heal the gut, inflammation, lean muscle preservation. So when it comes to preserving lean muscle or kind of making sure your metabolism stays on track, you need to strength train. As you know, strength train at least, 3 times per week. I'd say 3 times per week, if not more. You need to strength train, and you need to create macro balanced meals. You need to reduce sugar, alcohol, processed foods. And so, these things is like steps that you need to take. So in the programs that I do with my clients, they have usually, like, let's say the FFF program or transformation, they have the strength training program designed for them, which is based on MTP. So MTP, again, if you follow me for a long time, stands for Menopausal Training Protocol. It's a certain way I design the program so that you optimize that hormone level and optimize your metabolism level, right? So your strength training, like, there's going to be a certain number of strength training days. There's going to be certain things with the strength training, with the HIIT, with the cardio, with mobility work. So there's different aspects of MTP. And the reason for this, because of what I just spoke about, hormones and metabolism, you want to have a program that's tailored that way for a menopausal woman. I said it above when I talked about one of the hormones. I said that you have to learn to have a program that is meant for your changing hormones in your body. Okay, so that's what MTP is all about. And then the second thing too, outside of MTP, is macros. So remember, in order to have the optimal metabolism and weight control, you need to make sure that your macros are in place in protein, in your fiber, in your healthy fats. And carbs is one of those that's very interesting. Without getting too much into it, carbs, there's different classes of carbs, but also because you're more likely insulin resistant, carbs is a tricky one for menopausal women. Not you should have it, but you need to understand it. And so that's why it's like menopausal macros is important, right? So if you want to understand menopausal macros, put that below. That is the second pillar, is like how to optimize metabolism and how to have a better control of your weight situation. Again, it's not always about weight, but it's just relating to metabolism here, okay? So let's go to pillar number 3. So bone and joint vitality. Okay, so the third pillar, why I want to talk about this is because this is actually very crucial as you age, okay? Osteopenia and osteoporosis is extremely high in menopausal women above 50. The risk rises really sharply after 50. Falls and fractures become super common and they become major health issues, okay? So one of the things in bone and joint vitality is you need to focus on bone building nutrition, okay? Bone building nutrition is going to be crucial. And that's why I said it's like kind of a new way of me presenting the pillars and kind of getting you guys to think in certain ways. Your bones are going to be very important as you age, and you need calcium, you need vitamin D, you need vitamin K, you need magnesium. These are combinations of things you need to make sure that bone stays super, super strong for different reasons. And there's quite a lot of detail, but I'm not going to get into everything. But for example, your calcium, you should have about 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams of calcium per day. Okay. And you can actually get a lot of good calcium from a lot of greens as well, almonds and things like that. Vitamin D, you should have about 1,000 to 2,000 IU, more if you're deficient. So I know one of my clients had asked me, okay, I'm taking this vitamin D. I asked her the amount and it was like way too low. It was like in the 400 or 500. So make sure you are getting enough vitamin D, because this relates to your bone health as well. And again, like I said, there's vitamin K, there's magnesium. These all connect with the strength of your bones. Okay. Make sure you have that in place, or, learn more about this. And protein is also really important. So 50% of your bone volume comes from protein. So of course, making sure you get enough protein is super important. And that's why the macros is key, because you need to make sure like you get your healthy fats, you get your protein. Omegas are super important as well for bone health. A lot of people don't realize this, but for like bone protein. So again, like all of these things are going to be crucial for your strength of your bones, so you don't develop osteoporosis, osteoarthritis. So that's the bone building nutrition. You need to make sure you have weight bearing activity. You need to work on balance and mobility, which is part of the MTP protocol. That's why I said MTP, because there's a lot of things that needs to go into the MTP, into a menopausal protocol. So balance and mobility, you need to move daily. So if you want strong bones, make sure you are not sedentary. Make sure you are moving daily, having some sort of movement resistance, and then getting your regular bone density scans. How many of you regularly go get your bone density scans? Like have done your bone density scans? So if you're watching this is another thing for you to consider, right? Things to help you become better as you age. Optimal. So bone density scans. So like I said, if you want to understand better bone building routines, bone building nutrition, you can put bone building, routine or something like that. It's more important than you think, because, your bones will drop off very fast after 50. And that's one of the things that you want to be super careful of, because if you fall or fracture, this is like number one kind of complications for older people, right? And then the next pillar is heart and brain health. Okay. So after menopause, the risk of cardiovascular disease and cognitive decline increases, and it often increases silently. You don't know that the risk of your cardiovascular disease goes up. So you need to focus on a couple things in order to make sure it's doing well. So number one is you need to know your blood pressure, obviously, your cholesterol, your cognitive resilience. So what I mean by that is your focus and your memory and your mental wellness. Okay. So heart and brain health, right? So like there's the blood pressure, the cholesterol, the focus, the memory, and the mental well-being. These are all really important things for you to consider, because again, as you age, if you don't care about these things, your cognitive decline is fast. And how you're going to make sure you stay on top of this is you actually do need cardio. Cardio actually helps you circulate blood to the brain. Yeah. And that's why I said to a lot of people, yes, there's a huge emphasis on strength training and muscle building. It's true. But your heart is a muscle, your brain needs a circulation. So you can't just over focus on building muscle. That's why, again, MTP. You need these different elements in there to maximize the best health for you as a woman. Okay. So again, if you don't have an MTP protocol, so for example, everybody in FFF with that workout program has MTP. All my transformation clients who have their workouts built for them have MTP. But if you don't have MTP, you might want to consider it, because there's a lot of things you need to maximize the potential of your body and to stop it from aging as fast. So another thing for heart and brain health is brain boosting habits like learning something new, socializing, having a purpose in activities, not just doing the same thing over and over again. Believe me or not, believe me on this. If you do a program and you learn new things and you get yourself like new workout programs or new like exciting things, is a good thing for your brain. If you go like, oh my gosh, learning macros is so hard, or I didn't know this, it's good. It's good. It's hard. It's good. It challenges you, because you need to keep challenging your brain or it declines really fast, right? Actually, in this pillar, one of the things that they say is that a lot of women in menopause really care about like a workout and like the things I talked about above. But the silent one that people don't let it go down really fast is heart and brain health, because they don't think that they need to really take care of their brain as much as your body. I was just saying this to someone else, one of my clients. I said, like, there's, as much as you work out your body, you should have brain exercises, brain workouts, brain workouts. In fact, those of you who are on here learning and learning new things is a good thing. It's a brain workout and learning new things, right? And then as well, the heart and brain health, there's a gut-brain axis, okay? A gut-brain axis, a strong connection between the gut and the brain. So without getting into this, because this can be a really big topic, but your foods you eat and whatever you input into your gut, if your gut has high inflammation, then most likely you will cause inflammation in the brain. And this is so important. You learn what causes inflammation in your body, what could cause the lining of your gut to become inflamed. This is really important because this can translate to your brain. And again, you may not realize it, but obviously brain fog, slower thinking, poor memory, even mood disorders, anxiety, sleep disruption, all connects back to probably a lot of poor gut health and not being careful about what you're eating, or getting maybe lazier about certain things you're doing with your gut. Okay. And a lot of digestive issues, like a lot of you, if you've been with me a while, you probably a lot better, but if you have bloating, constipation, diarrhea, food sensitivities, these all indicate imbalance in your gut. Okay. So, all of you who are watching, how many of you, believe you may have inflammation in your system or inflammation in your gut? With that saying, if you put it below, like if you believe you have inflammation, if you dropped a number of inches and weight in my 14-day bloat buster, it means that you have inflammation in your system. It means there is occurring inflammation. Another really big sign of inflammation is gut issues and belly fat. So put below, do you believe you have inflammation issues? Like those signs that I indicated will indicate. And another thing of inflammation, so I talked about gut brain axis, but the other thing is if you get sick often. And there's some of my clients who seem to get sick often, or often seem like they're kind of, again, just every so often they keep getting sick. If you are getting sick often, that to you should tell you your body is under inflammation, okay? You shouldn't be getting sick so much. Yeah, it's not that, oh, I'm getting older, so I'm getting sick more. No, it means you're under a lot of inflammation. It means something you're doing, something you're eating, something maybe also in your lifestyle is causing inflammation. So again, if you want help with inflammation, put inflammation below, because inflammation affects everything, but specifically on the brain and heart health it will cause major brain issues. Inflammation on a more scientific level for the brain will basically destroy the myelin sheath, which is the white sheath around your neurons. The myelin sheath helps conductivity, I guess, the best way. I mean, I'm simplifying it. But if you have better myelin sheath, the white sheath, the faster your neuron signals, the faster you learn, the faster signals go. With high inflammation, that myelin sheath will break down, and then then you don't have proper signals, slower, you're learning things slower, you're responding slower, there's brain fog, all that stuff. Okay, so again, outside of inflammation of the gut, think about inflammation of your brain that you want to protect, because I'm sure when you get older, you don't want to have dementia or Parkinson's and things like this. So this is why, again, kind of a not newer, but I'm just displaying these pillars in a slightly different way. Okay, so put below if you want help with inflammation. And of course, you guys know heart inflammation, heart problems, atherosclerosis, heart attacks, cardiovascular diseases. Menopausal women is high risk for this, not just men. I know they say men has high risk of cardiovascular disease, women too, as they hit into menopause. Okay, so really being aware of that. And number 5 pillar is emotional and mental resilience. So for this pillar, again, these are like the 6 pillars of wellness, right? So emotional and mental resilience is recognizing this stage of life. So this stage of life is you are going to have aging parents. You're going to be maybe empty nesters. Maybe you have more, some people, loneliness, depression, they're getting older, they're by themselves, a lot of changing aspects of things, right? So in this kind of stage of life, it's really important you have proper stress regulation, you have proper emotional processing, you have proper sleep and recovery, and you work on mindset and proper self-worth. Okay, again, not talked about a lot. Again, I said, like, this is a little bit of a different view I'm giving you, because a lot of women, and I just met with one of my clients, okay, on something like this. Actually, no, 2 of my clients. And it's emotional processing. Okay, a lot of us are very good with just push it aside or push it under the rug, don't deal with it, isolate. I know one person on here might isolate, and you don't seek for help. And so in this stage of life, you really need to be more aware, figure out how you can manage the stress, how do you process these emotions better, having good sleep, recovery. Sleep and recovery is not the same. Proper sleep is having enough sleep. Recovery is like not working out all the time and giving your body rest, recovery in between the, like the stretching, the meditation. I know I talked about on one of my live, the box breathing methodology. I shared it with 2 of my clients and they love it, the box breathing method. So there's sleep and recovery, right? And of course, mindset and self-worth. So, in terms of mindset, it's like at this age, in this stage of life, a lot of things are going to happen. So let me tell you, all my MAs, my muscle accelerators, I don't think any of them are actually on here right now, but they're the ones with me long term. Like, honestly, I think the MAs are with me for 2 years or more now. But like these long-term clients, we work on mindset the most, because look, all of them are at a stage in life where many people are passing away and dying. First the mom, or then the dad, then someone close to them, then their friends, best friends, someone, like it's just like one after the other, right? And I think Debbie's not on here because Debbie Bowman knows the same dance coach I have. She's actually at his celebration of life. My dance coach, one of my older dance coaches had passed away. I know a lot of you guys know that. He's very young and he's just crazy. Died of bacterial meningitis like that in 1 week. Really crazy. But, people around you are going to pass away. And a lot of stress, or you might be taking care of your mom who has dementia. I know I have 2-3 clients who are dealing with that. So it's very, very important that you really focus in on what is causing you stress. How do you deal with this? Because you cannot change the situation, right? You are going to face more deaths. You are going to face more things. And I think that if you're not a person who focuses on mindset, make sure you do focus in on it, or work with a coach who works with you on this. I encourage and coach quite a few of my clients towards that direction because it's so important. I'll give you an example. So she knows who she is. I'm not going to mention her name because we just met. But when she came onto our call, I knew she needed to get back onto certain things with macros, with her workout. But the thing I talked to her the most about is how is she processing her emotions. And at first she was like, I just want to talk about macros. I was like, but it isn't just about macros, because if you don't talk about what's had gone on, you're going to be triggered all over again, And so it's just as an example, right? So I want you guys to again take note, because the 6 pillars of wellness for a menopausal woman or a woman above 40 is beyond just nutrition and workout. That's why it's 6, it's not 2, right? Is I want you to think broader in the way you live your life, in the way you approach your wellness as an aging woman. Is I need to have good boundaries. I need to have good mindset work. I need to have proper emotional processing, stress regulation. And so if you want to have better, you want to work on mindset better or stress, cortisol control, put it below, put mindset or cortisol control below. It's again, more important than you think. Because again, if you don't control cortisol, everything else will be affected. What did I talk about in the hormone first pillar? All your hormones will be worsened by the presence of cortisol. All right. It will fight you on your sex hormones. It will fight you on, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. It will worsen your insulin response. Everything is impacted by cortisol. Okay. So if you want to have better mindset or cortisol work, put cortisol below. It's very, very important. Okay. And the last pillar, number 6 pillar, is preventative health and self-advocacy. Again, a different angle. I wanted to talk about this because I think that preventative health is so important as you age, meaning you need to be proactive in preventing the diseases that are going to be coming at you at this age. Okay, so I'll give you some statistics. In Australia, over 59% of women have at least one chronic condition. In North America, it's 51.8% adults have at least one diagnosed chronic condition. So what am I talking about? I'm going to name off a number of things for you guys. And this is that most people above 40 to 45, above that age range, will have something of this sort. And if you have it, please put it below. Okay, so put it below if you have one of these things. So osteoarthritis, endometriosis, dementia, STI, which is, sexually transmitted diseases, breast cancer, hormonal changes, skin cancer, diabetes, mental health concerns like depression, that type of thing. COPD, which is chronic, more like the respiratory stuff like asthma. Okay. Osteoporosis. I think I already said osteoarthritis, and there's more. But those are very common chronic illnesses after 40 to 45. Okay. If you have any one of those, I want you to put it below. And I mentioned diabetes. So I'll name it again. Osteoarthritis, endometriosis, dementia, STI, breast cancer, hormonal changes, skin cancer, diabetes, mental health concerns, COPD, which stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is the lungs, asthma, and osteoporosis. If you struggle with any of those, put that below, because over 50 something % of women, whether here or Australia or other parts of the world, struggle with a chronic disease. Okay. And this is just to let you know, right? This actually really happens. And we're not just talking about this just to talk about it for fun, is that you guys will face this. So you have to be very aware, right? But understand one thing, autoimmune disease, yes, can have a genetic factor. And today I can't get into it. There were 3 genetic codings I was going to talk about. That if you have one of those codings, you may be more susceptible to diseases and diabetes and stuff. I don't have time to get into it. Sometimes there's genetic, but there's a larger part in a lot of autoimmune diseases that come from inflammation. So if I had to go back to it, is the expression of a lot of these types of, even if it's genetically coded, comes from your lack of dealing with inflammation in your body, right? And they did say that one of the leading ones in North America is actually arthritis. They said this is one of the leading ones of pain and disability for older people is arthritis. And then next is like asthma, and then like diabetes. So diabetes is near the top as well, okay? So what should you do as a woman to have preventative health? Number one, and you guys all know this, you need to get your screenings done. You need to go for your mammograms, your blood work, your colonoscopies, your thyroid things, your glucose things. You need to get screenings done more regularly if you can, okay? And you should know your numbers, okay? And I will go through some numbers with you here, but you should know your numbers around for what your blood pressure, your glucose, your cholesterol levels, your vitamin levels. You should know these things so that you can have better health for yourself, okay? So, and of course, this you can discuss with your doctor. I'm just going to give you some ideas, right? So obviously your blood pressure should be, about 120/80 or less than 120/80 for it to be healthy, right? If you're 120 to 129, you're kind of getting a little bit elevated. And then if you're 130 plus over 80 plus, then you're high blood pressure, right? And high blood pressure will increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, kidney issues, and cognitive decline. In terms of your fasting blood glucose, okay, your fasting blood glucose levels is important to determine will you potentially have pre-diabetes or diabetes. Optimal levels is 70 to 90 milligrams per deciliter. Pre-diabetes would be 100 to 125, and diabetes would be 126 plus milligrams per deciliter, okay? So again, understanding numbers is crucial too, because when you get tested, you want to know what's going on, right? So chronically high blood sugar levels will lead to insulin resistance, belly fat, fatigue, and type 2 diabetes, okay? Your hemoglobin A1Cs, okay, is again indicating sugar levels, and they have a 3-month kind of testing to see how your average of your A1Cs will be. And optimal levels would be less than 5.4%. Pre-diabetes is 5.7 to 6.4%, and diabetes is 6.5% and above. And 3-month testing period will let you know whether your blood sugar levels are actually stable or not. And then cholesterol, like I said, again, you can discuss this with your doctor, but just giving you a little bit of idea, right? Cholesterol is, you want total cholesterol to be less than 200 milligram per deciliter. You want your LDL bad cholesterol to be less than 100 milligram per deciliter. You want your HDL good cholesterol, which takes out the bad cholesterol kind of thing and moves it out of the kind of heart area. It should be higher than 60 milligrams per deciliter, and your triglycerides should be less than 150 milligram per deciliter. Okay, there's more. I don't want to get confused. There's a lot more. You should know your levels. But there's like vitamin D levels you should know. You should know your vitamin B12 level, which is one of the most commonly deficient. And although I know one of my clients had to get the supplements for that one because her vitamin B12 was very, very low. Ferritin is another one. And then thyroid testing is important. Your T3, T4, reverse T3s. Again, I have a lot of the numbers, but I don't want you guys to go crazy. Eventually want to learn more about understanding your numbers. You can put understanding numbers. It just will help you be more empowered, right? So you should know your thyroid levels. You can also test for CRP, C-reactive protein, which should be less than 1.0 milligram per liter. And C-reactive protein will tell you, do you have high inflammation in your system? And you can also check for inflammation with homocysteine. CRP and homocysteine will show you whether you have inflammation or heart-brain markers for inflammation. And will you potentially have heart disease or cognitive diseases? Like I talked about the inflammation in your system, okay? So as well, you can also test for cortisol. And so your cortisol, like I said, you should know some of the levels. Again, I don't want to get you guys too confused, but it should be way higher in the morning, and then it will start to drop throughout the day, okay? What it will indicate is, like, for example, optimal is 6 to 18, I think, micrograms per deciliter is optimal, but it starts off high. But let's just say if it starts off in the morning super low, then you might have trouble getting out of bed. Or let's just say it's optimal and then the cortisol is super high throughout the day, and like, let's say elevated, then we know you're struggling with high cortisol, right? So micrograms, 6 to 18 micrograms per deciliter, okay, is your optimal cortisol level, okay? So again, like, the numbers are, there's a lot to understanding these numbers, to get tested, to understand this. But I just want you to be more aware that you should get your testing done, screening done. You should know your numbers so that you have more optimal health for yourself as you age. Okay, so that's my point on that. And if, like I said, if you want to understand more, you want to learn more, or have someone who understands this to kind of like guide you, because sometimes there's a lot everywhere, right? These numbers are all over the place, but knowing the numbers is only one thing. You need a plan, right? Like if you don't have a plan to deal with all these things, like you have high CRP, high homocysteine, you can have like, you know, maybe the high glucose level, but what does that tell you? Well, that's good to know, but you need a plan, right? You need a plan to deal with these, what you're seeing the numbers for, right? So what you need to do is not only the testing and understand numbers, always look for second opinions. If you're getting tested or if you have major health things, you know, don't just go with maybe just like one medical test, because sometimes one medical test is only one time in that, like one point in time. And you may need a few more tests. You may need a couple of doctor's opinion, things like that. You want to also, like I said this earlier, but with preventative health, detoxification and inflammation monitoring and control is top. So that's why the programs I develop is so much in this area, like detoxify, inflammation control. So if you're not working on that, put detoxification or inflammation control below. And you want to make sure every year you get your checkup. If you have any symptoms, you want to journal the symptoms and chart out patterns. So when I say that, for example, it could be like, how do you feel in the morning? How do you feel in the middle of the day? How do you feel by the end of the night? How's your energy? When do you get your cravings? Do you know what I mean? Like, track your patterns, and journal symptoms is going to give you better understanding of like how to work with your body, because your body is changing right now all over the place, right? And then making sure you have a good team with you, okay? We call it the wellness team, you know? So you should have your good doctor, you should maybe have a good gyno, you should have a good like health coach or wellness or holistic coach. You want to have, I was talking to another client who was going to start a program with me, and she says, you know, she's talking to me, she has, yes, a functional coach, a functional doctor, and then something else. And I asked her, I said like, hey, you have a lot of support. And she's like, yeah, but she's like, I want you too, because I want you a part of my team. I want the team of you is part of helping me be my healthiest. And I thought, yeah, like, she's really smart. She making sure there's like someone in every corner for her and in every area, right? So building a supportive, integrative wellness team is crucial. And so it's part of the preventative health. And what I want to have you put below is, if you want to become more aware of like how do I make this like all come together? Like I said, the hormones, all the readings, the different numbers, what does it mean? It needs to come together in sort of a systematic way. Like, how do you work with it? So if you are wanting more, like, I guess, understanding of, you can say hormone coaching or understanding the hormone side of things, you can put hormones below to get a better understanding of that. Now, obviously when I teach in a lot of my programs, if you're being taught things like macros, if you want to better understand like hormones and how to work with it and have someone kind of in your corner, then put hormones below, okay? And the very last thing, this is past the 6 pillars, but as you age, okay? The bonus thing I would talk about is reconnection to yourself. So what do I mean by that is, like, for example, what allows you to have self-expression, whether it's art, dancing, writing. Do you have any passion projects? Do you enjoy travel? As I speak from Athens, Greece, travel or learning is like to build a new identity beyond caregiving or a worker. As you guys age, some of you are going to retire, some of you are not going to work anymore, some of you have empty nester, you might be taking care of your parents, but beyond that, what can you build your new passion and identity towards? And that's very important to your wellness, right? Because a lot of times I think that's when people kind of like go downhill, is like they lose their passion, they lose their identity of who they are. And I think it's really important that you do something you're passionate about. Obviously you guys know mine is dance, and now it's traveling and have many things on the go. And I think that's really important because one of the things for older women is they lose themselves. They don't know who they are anymore. They've always worked this job. Now they don't work this job. They've always been a mom. Now all their kids have left home. They've always, there's like they change. There's a lot of changes. So I just encourage you to find that part of yourself, which is reconnection to yourself. Okay, reconnection to yourself. So in summary, the 6 pillars are: 1, you need to understand your hormonal harmony. Number 2, you need to have a good view on metabolism and your weight health. Number 3 is bone and joint vitality. Number 4 is heart and brain health. Number 5 is mental emotional resilience. And number 6 is preventative health and self-advocacy. And if you can really take note of what I'm speaking about on here and write this out for yourself, and you really take time to go through each one, you're guaranteed to be on a healthy path because you're going to get all the right things on track and go to the right doctors, go get the right testing, maybe, get the right program, coaching. Like, you're going to put yourself on the right format. And that's what was the goal of today's live, is 6 pillars framework for healthier wellness for women above 40. Okay, so hopefully you found that helpful, and hopefully you guys got lots of value out of that. Yes, I will see you guys next week, and thank you for being with me tonight.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fierce and Fit Mentor podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the follow button on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If something in this episode resonated with you, please leave a review or share it with a friend who'd love it too. Your support means the world and helps us reach more amazing women like you. Until next time, stay fierce, stay fit, and let's keep building your most powerful self.